Hello and welcome to Baggies View. I'm Paul Bradley and I'm joined on the phone now by West Bromwich Albion correspondent Chris Lipkowski. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
We'll start off today talking about Gabriel Tamas. Can you just tell us a bit about kind of what's going to be happening to him over the next couple of days, especially considering his kind of ban, really, I suppose?
Yeah, the Beast of Brasov, as he's known. He clashed with James Vaughan. There'd been an incident before the one that he's been punished for earlier in the game, and whether it was some payback, I don't know. But in any case, James Vaughan collided, if you like, with Gabriel Tamas's elbow, and the referee didn't spot it. Which, when these things happen, if the referee spots it and doesn't act, then the player cannot get punished afterwards. But because the referee didn't spot it, he was then asked by the FA to view the incident again, which he did. Mark Halsey, who was the match referee on Sunday, basically said that had he spotted the incident during the game, he would have dismissed Gabriel Tamas and he would have awarded Norwich a penalty. So he had until 6 p.m. last night to appeal or basically declare whether he would be attending a hearing, and I think the right decision was made in not doing so, because the danger is that if the FA deem it to be a frivolous protest, if you like, then they can indeed extend that punishment. And I think there's a general feeling that Albion did quite well at the whole incident. If you look at it from Norwich's point of view, they were denied a penalty, and you know, they could have easily got a point out of that game. But as it happens, Tamas stayed on the pitch. The referee didn't spot the incident. He didn't award a penalty, and Albion came away with 3 points.
And who's likely to replace him and in this situation? Because it'll be around 3 games that he'll be out for, isn't it? Yeah,
it'll be a 3-game ban, which will include the League Cup game at Everton. So we'll only miss 2 Premier League games. I suspect Craig Dawson will come in. One of the reasons for that is that he's the next natural player in line, if you like, but also the level of the opposition, without wishing to be too rude to Swansea or Fulham. They're perhaps not the most potent teams. I include Everton as well, who might well play a weakened team in the League Cup. They're not the most potent of sides in terms of attacking. Swansea haven't scored yet this season, of course. So it's not a bad time for him to come into the team. He's very highly rated. He's young. He certainly impressed the coaching staff with his levels of performance in training, and he's played for England under 21's, done very well. Gareth McCauley was ill during pre-season. He's not actually back yet at his 5 weight. He lost so much weight during his illness that he's still trying to recover. So I can't imagine he will be considered ahead of Dawson, not least because he had a fairly miserable game for Northern Ireland last week. So that all points towards Dawson getting the nod on Saturday.
And looking ahead to that game against Swansea, any kind of early team news for that game?
Well, as you'll read in today's Birmingham Mail, Chris Brunt's rated at 50-50 at the moment. He took a knock in training on Monday. He was, of course, substitute on Sunday due to the punishing internationals that he'd played for Northern Ireland, and yeah, it's still looking likely that he's going to face a struggle for this Saturday.
And looking ahead now, because of how Albion will be preparing for that game, and how they did in their last game as well. Looking back on the performance, I suppose, really, what's your verdict on how the team are playing at the moment?
Well, it's interesting that their performance on Sunday at Carrow Road was undoubtedly their worst of the season so far. But what we saw in the first 2 games, certainly against Manchester United and Chelsea, was lots of backslapping and sort of condescending comments about how well Albion played, and yet they came away with nothing, and yet they went to Norwich, and I have to say that Norwich offered a lot of enthusiasm, spirit. They prevented Albion from playing, but they didn't actually really cause Albion a lot of damage. I don't really recall Ben Foster being called into action too often, and when you look back on the game on reflection, you have to say Albion did deserve to win. They didn't produced their best performance. They weren't fluid by any stretch of the imagination, and I suspect that we'll have some concerns about certain areas of the pitch, not least between his own defence and midfield, where they were exploited. But they defended very well. Ben Foster had very little to do, and it was a good performance. And so far, they've played well this season. They've played in a more conventional 4-4-2 with Shana and Malumbu and two more attacking players playing in wing roles. And there was a lot of consensus that the 4-5-1 or the 4-2-3-1 they used last year was very successful, and it was. They haven't lost their games this season as a result of playing 4-4-2. They've lost the games they have because of individual mistakes, and they didn't necessarily win on Sunday because of the way they were shaped up. It's still early in the season. I still think they're trying to find their feet in that system, and when it's finely tuned, I suspect it'll bring more out of the players involved as well. I think the biggest problem they'll have is finding a role for the likes of Graham Dorrans and James Morrison and players who are maybe more inclined to attack but are having to be marginalised more on the wings at the moment.
Okay, Chris. Well, look, thanks for your thoughts today. We'll be back again next week with more Baggies.